Hi again, Doug here from X-Frames FPV, and today we've got a review of this beautiful frame here from Xbee, and we're going to get right into it. I do apologize right off the bat. They're putting a roof on the house next door to us, and so it's causing a little bit of noise, but I've just got to get some videos up. So here we go. Let's get right into it. Like I said, this is from Xbee, X-B-E-E, not like X, the letter B. Let's get a. Now this is the X version 2. You know, I've been talking to Eric from Xbee, and we talked about me doing a review for him, and so that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna take a look at this frame. I have no experience with these frames. I've got this one in the T190. I did a quick build and a review, like a mini review on the T190. And we're going to start slowly adding components to these. And so I haven't had a chance to even really look at the layout of this, but let's get right into it. First of all, we've got a standard Maytec XT60 PDB. It's a great little workhorse of a PDB. Make sure I've got everything I need here, because I want to make sure that I can... And here we got a bottom plate and a top plate. Let's fry those open. I don't know why I just said fry those open. Does that make sense to anybody? It doesn't make sense to me, and I said it. So there's a top plate, bottom plate. I think this looks like it's going to be right at 2 millimeter. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, if you watch the previous video that I did on the T190, the carbon fiber on this is really great. Really tight weave, and then also the layers of the separate carbon fiber is really tight, which is really important. You know, with carbon fiber, what we see on the outside is not what's sandwiched in between generally. It just would be too expensive to make a frame out of this really high quality carbon fiber, and so they sandwich it with other layers, and that's kind of normal. But so, you know, really one of the big things is machining and just the quality of the layers themselves and how tight, and these are as tight as I've seen, and the machining is just perfect. You know, some of the stuff on the other one that I built was a little bit tight. The tolerance is a little tight. I had to shave off a little bit of a couple of things. I don't mind doing that, because I'd rather do that than machine it to a tolerance that makes it loose enough to where it's not going to have any issues. I'd rather shave off a little bit and the build be really tight. So let's move on. Just like the other one, we've got a LiPo protector. This sits underneath your LiPo. LiPo battery gets strapped on top, and it protects it to some degree in a crash, which is great, because we all have puffy LiPos from crashes. Maybe I have more than some. Oh, goodness. But we move on. This is the mount for the arms that sits above, and then in the middle here is where your PDB is going to mount to, or your stack, whatever you're going to be using if you're using an all-in-one. But these machined, they're not nuts, but these machined receivers here, whatever they're called, are all already mounted in, and I like that. Just another step. Obviously, we've got some screws. This, I'm not going to open this right now. This looks to be camera hardware for mounting the camera. And like in the other one, we got some spacers, and we also got these little grommets, these little nylon or silicone grommets. I don't know which one they are, but I'm assuming they put those in for soft mounting the flight controller, which is really, you know, this is not a 100% soft mount, but this is an easy way, and I put it on pretty much every build that I do, because it's just an easy way to remove noise going into the flight controller. If you have a really noisy flight controller, it's not going to do it, because it's just, there's not enough material there. Got a couple of nice LiPo pads that go underneath the bottom plate, I believe. And then, you know, I remarked on this on the other one too. I really like these standoffs. I like the design of them. I've got 4 for the body and then 2 for the top plate, I believe is what that is. A couple of really nice lipo straps. And then the arms. I was really impressed with the T190. Of course, you do get some really bright. Let me get where it's not so. Yeah, get some stickers. Everybody likes stickers. My son loves them because he puts them on a skateboard and everything else. So these are the arms. I'll measure these out. They're going to be 4 millimeter, just like the other ones. That's what they feel like. Yeah, just a hair under 4 millimeter. But I really like how clean they are. They're chamfered both on the top and bottom. And you'll find in a lot of frames they're only going to chamfer one side. And they do that because of cost. Obviously, chamfering is the rounding off of this edge, right? The leading edge. And that helps. We can CA glue it. And then in a crash, it kind of helps keep things from splintering. And so, but a lot of companies, like even on the Impulse RC Helix, there's only one side that's chamfered. They do that to save cost. And to me, if you're going to chamfer it, I think both sides need to be chamfered because you don't know when you crash if you're going to crash, you know, bottom side down or bottom side up. And so if you're going to chamfer it, it makes sense to do both sides. And so they did that. And so they've just really gone to a lot of steps. So here's what we're going to do. Since this is different, I didn't know how different it would be from the other one. We're going to go ahead and build this one. And I'll just kind of do a few little stops here and there to kind of let you know what's going on with the build, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. This is going to be the first step. So we're going to, in the bag, you had 4 different sizes of M3s. So we're going to use the longer, which looks like to be a 10, maybe a 12 millimeter. But the way it works is that these arms get sandwiched in between the bottom plate, or the dirty plate if you want to call it, and this top mount, is arm support. So the center, the longer ones come up through the center. This is going to be for the PDB or for your stack. Now, if you remember in the last video, if you watched it, the tolerances on these are really tight, so you are gonna, it's not just gonna push through. You are gonna have to apply some pressure. And again, I am okay with that. Actually, I would prefer that, because if you're having to screw all of these in a little bit, there's not a lot of force. You know, if you really chugged on it, you could probably chug. Goodness gracious, Doug. The words you come up with, it means nothing in other people's mind. It means something in my mind, but you know, it allows for just a tighter fit. And over time, it's going to work its way, and there's going to be a little slop. So it just makes this frame last longer, because other frames, they're going to have a disadvantage starting out because they're not that tight. This is, let me see here. Yeah, I think I can push that one on. Okay, and then this goes on top. And we're just going to hold this here and hold this here and just slowly start to screw it in, and that will bring it down to us. Hopefully this stuff is staying in focus. If it's not, I'm sorry. I just, you know, I really need to figure out a way. Like I said in the last video, I think the GoPro is the way to go for these build videos, because the GoPro allows, it has a wider focus range. It doesn't have such a shallow depth of field. And so, okay, so we have that arm. And then we come up through the bottom as well on this one. Now on the other frame that we built, we didn't have this second receiver here, because it went directly into the standoffs. Yeah, but this one's this is a, more of a standard, like I guess a QAVX center section. Okay, I'm just going to kind of snug those down. So that's one arm completed. Okay, and I'll come back to you and they'll all four be done. I lied. I did want to show you one thing. On these longer screws where you're having to really tap them in quite a ways, it's nice to have a power driver. This is just a cheap one. I think it's like $15 from Harbor Freight. And even though this is a cheap one, it still has quite a bit of torque to it. And so what you've got to really be careful is that, number one, you don't strip out your screws, and number two, that you don't strip out whatever they're screwing into. So what I do here, I'll get it started. Make sure that's on video. And just kind of make sure you watch, especially when it goes into here, to make sure that we're nice and lined up, that it doesn't kind of push up that top plate or the mounting bracket. And then once I get close, I'm going to finish it with a hand, because then you can feel these are strong enough that they really can strip these out, and you can kind of feel how tight they are, and it's hard to do with that. You guys all may be going, well, duh, that's of course the most obvious thing. Well, it's not obvious to everybody, so I just thought I'd show that. I'll be right back. Okay, there it is with all four arms. Now, one of the things to keep in mind, this is the T190 that we built. Here's the bottom of it. As you can see, front to back is the same. There's no differences. And so, and you can see here the main plate of this is going to be quite a bit larger, quite a bit longer. And there is a front and there is a back. This is the front and this is the back. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, well now, I did this off camera. I meant to show you, but I forgot. When applying anything with adhesive to this carbon fiber, make sure you get some good 99, doesn't matter the brand, but 99% pure isopropyl alcohol, and clean that, because there's going to be residue on these. See if you can see on the, no. There's going to be residue on these from machining, and so it just will allow this to stick a lot better. Another thing, when you get this stuff, don't leave the cap off. I learned the hard way that even leaving it off a couple of hours, it dissipates so quick, it evaporates so quick that you'll go through, a quarter of a bottle just by letting it sit. So just a little tip. So the screws we have left are the M3 by 8s and the M3 by 5s. So these M3 by 8s are going to be used in two different places. Now we have a couple of options. We've got a couple of different options here for mounting antennas over here and mounting GoPros in different ways. We're going to not use these two pieces. These are extra antenna mounts and GoPro mounts if you want to use them. And let's see here. So this does come with a nice bumper, which is a really good thing to have. And that's going to go on the bottom here. And so we're going to take these M3 by 8s. Okay. And then we're going to flip it around to the top side. And that's actually where our standoffs are going to go. Again, guys, sorry for the hammering next door. Sometimes when they're pulling like a nail out of like maybe a board with a knot in it, boy, it just makes a lot of noise. Luckily, that's been when I've been between shots. Okay, so there's the front. Look how nice that is. Look at how the bumper sticks out just slightly. Can you see that, guys? I think you can. And so that's really a great thing. So when you crash, if you splinter something, guess what? You got this tiny little inexpensive part that you're going to replace. That makes it nice. So next we're going to mount the two rear standoffs. And for that are these included M3 by 5s. And if it was my build, I would probably go with like maybe an M3 by 6. If these standoffs would take it, just to give me a little bit more bite. But since this is a review and this is pretty standard, so it's not like he's doing something that you know is a no-no. But I like a little extra bite on the standoffs, so not a big deal. A lot of companies choose to shave a little weight by, you know, instead of going 6mm, he went with 5mm just to get it as light as possible, and yet we're still getting 3mm of bite there because we've got a 2mm bottom plate. Okay, so then these other two here, you see they're longer than what we would use for the other standoffs. Well, that's because I'm going to make sure we're in the right orientation. We've got the bumper up here. We've got the points here that we're going to be putting in the camera mount. That's because this is going to have this antenna mount back here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and push these through. And the same over here. Now you can see that this allows you to mount your antenna vertically. I will not be doing that. Sometimes on some of the builds, I do like to have a lot of, the reason I'm using this is I like the extra places here that we can get zip ties into. And even if you notice here, this is recessed a little bit so we can get another zip tie there. So this is going to be a really great setup. You could, if you like, sometimes I route on other builds, I route this out just a little bit and make it curved, keeping this part here, but it's not necessary. Okay, so then this is going to sit right on top of there. But first we need to install our antenna. Our camera mounts. Oh, sorry, I've got that backwards. Now, you know, this is set up, you know, different cameras have different kind of mounts, and the swing, so like, let me grab an arrow. This is the 2-position swing kind of mount for an arrow, and obviously they're not in the right place. Sometimes they're, you know, the swing is on top, sometimes it's on bottom. So it just kind of depends on your camera. Slide that in there. Actually, I'm sorry. It should be going this way. Okay. And then when we install, the top plate is going to go on top like this. Now before we do that, we're going to go ahead and install a GoPro mount onto this. Okay, so I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, you know, my camera's kind of freaking out on me a little bit today for some reason. It's shutting off inadvertently. So we're going to go ahead and do a GoPro mount style. This is going to work great for a session. And so let's get right to that. So you have these little mounts. These are going to slide. Nice thing is that this is at the perfect angle if you're running. I think this looks like about, well, that might be 45 degrees. And the other side comes through here. Bottom standoff goes to the bottom. And that's what actually holds it in place. And we're going to use these. We have 6 more of these M3x5s. 4 of them are going to be used here. Okay. And then 2 more of them will be used to finish off the top plate. Come back through where I dropped it and grab the M3 again. Okay, let's go over here, make sure we're focus. Screw that in. Okay, see that? Then we're going to go ahead, and before I did that, I should have left it loose. I'm not afraid to make mistakes on camera, because when you're building something for the first time, that's the reality. Part of it, a little bit of it, is trial and error. Sometimes more error than trial, if that makes sense to anybody other than me. Which most of the time my stuff does not. And I appreciate you guys staying around, even though I come up with these words that make no sense. A guy I used to be in a band with called them Doug-isms. It's just my own little way of talking. And after you've been with me for a while, you'll get them. And you might even start using some yourself, and your wife can roll her eyes at you like my wife rolls her eyes at me. And even my kids, like I've got a 5, a 6, and a 15. And my 6-year-old girl thinks she's 12. It's amazing the differences at this age between my 5-year-old boy. I said 6-year-old earlier, but he's 5. My 5-year-old boy and my 6-year-old girl. They just couldn't be more different. It's just amazing to me, these kids. I love them. But then all of us dads do. Okay, now this is not the kind of camera that's going to go there. It's going to be a session, but you can see mounts there really nicely. So now we can go directly to, oopsie, the top plate. And do the little dance that we always got to do with the camera mounts. Okay. And then come back here. Let's go ahead and just start them. We had a shot there. Can you see that? Gingerly start. Just, you don't have to rock it back and forth, but I'm going to, just so that we don't round out the holes for the antenna mount. Okay, and then our final 2 here. Then we're going to get a weight on it here after we get all this done. I wanted to show you also, it dawned on me as I was looking at this, there really is 2 ways to mount either GoPro session, or if you have a lot, there's some guys that run the actual, what am I trying to think of, the Polaroid cube. So, you could mount it that way, where it basically lays on flat and then you have that angled. But I think probably, as I'm looking at it, let me pop this off real quick. I think you're probably going to end up mounting it the other way. Is probably the more popular way that you strap in the Velcro for your session, especially, and most ways that you mount a Hero. Now, if you're running a mount on a Hero, some of them have where they run a strap that kind of wraps around, and they run them this way. Then this is the kind of mount that you're going to do, because you're going to lay the camera in this way and run the strap, because if the other way, this is just a firmer support. But I like that they thought it through and kind of thought of both ways that you would want to do it, right? It's pretty smart. Okay, you can see there we just switched it around the other way, just slides right in. You pop the new piece in. See if I can unscrew this enough. Okay, you just put the bottom screw in, other bottom screw, top standoff. Okay, there you have it. And then that way your session is just going to sit right on top of there. So just want to show that to you guys. Thanks so much. You know, a lot of times, you know, when they do weights on frames, you know, a lot of times they're not including the GoPro mount. And so we've, you know, this is going to be with the GoPro mount. 79, probably 4 grams for the $83. So, you know, that's nice and light. You know, there's lighter frames out there, but they didn't make this so light that it's not sturdy, because it absolutely is. But look at this thing. Let's zoom out here, or pull out, so you can get a nice look at it. It's just a beautiful frame. I wish you guys could see it in real life and see just the carbon fiber and how nice with the chamfered edges everything is. Super, I mean, gosh, it's just so sturdy. So, you know, that's the only other thing that you could, you know, if you wanted the option of having your battery protector, you can run that. That's about it. I would suggest, as you use these, I would suggest grabbing a little file and sanding off the edges of those, because those like to eat these lipo straps. So that's it. That is the Xbee XV2, I believe is what they call this. Let me make sure. Yeah, the Xbee XV2. Right now will be popping up the website where you can purchase these, and you know, we're going to get a build on both of these and have some fun with them. I cannot wait. I sent some pictures around to some friends last night, and they, you know, it's a very interesting, well-designed frame. So that's about it, guys. Thanks so much. Check out my website at xframesfpv.com, and you can see my builds. Check out the website for Xbee, and like I said, we'll put that up here again. And then all that will be in the description as well, as far as where you can buy it and that kind of thing. So appreciate you guys, and I hope you have some time to fly.